Today we have Aaron from Surf Lakes. Aaron's actually the founder from Surf Lakes, and I just want to take time to do a bit of an interview. We've been working with Surf Lakes for a number of years, and we've obviously watched the company go from pretty much a seed idea where it had a small little pond that you were pumping out some waves in, and now you got obviously a fully fledged I suppose park going at the moment, or not park, I shouldn't say, but a fully fledged version of the actual, what you envision Surf Lakes to be. So just as a quick start, Aaron, can you give us a bit of a background to Surf Lakes?
Thanks, mate. Yeah, so it started out as an idea that I wanted to tinker with, because I could see when I was skimming rocks with the kids, we had this concept of concentric waves running on the shoreline. And so for me, I needed to know whether that could work. And so after a series of prototypes in my backyard pool, and then a friend's paddock, and then ever bigger prototypes, we got to the place where we could raise the funds and build a full-scale test demonstration kit at Yeppoon, which was phenomenal. So it's worked really, really well. And so that was our goal, is to produce a lot of man-made waves that we could take to the world. So we're now doing that.
What impressed me was the sheer volume of waves that you're looking to produce. Just give some context. I know there are some sort of internationally, but how many waves is Surf Lakes able to produce?
Yeah, we can produce over 2,000 rides every hour. So what that means in context is if each surfer can have 10 rides per hour on average, you could have 200 plus people in the water, all getting plenty of rides and all getting waves of their own ability, which is important as well. So that whole 5 levels of ability at the same time as that level of productivity is a big, big jump.
And from what I understand, you're saying, like we were sort of talking earlier, you mentioned you guys are the only one that have actually built a full prototype sort of surf park in Australia.
Yeah, that's right. There's other ideas floating around and people promoting technologies, but we've actually built the full-scale demo and now taking that to the world. So we have more than 600 inquiries from around the world. We've had over 180 inquiries in the last 3 months alone. So yeah, it's not just us that thinks it's a cool idea. There's a lot of people that are supporting that from different parts of the world.
Now, I know you've been pushing the limits as far as what sort of wave size you're able to achieve, because obviously I follow your social media. So what have you, just to give the audience a context, what's the size you've been able to achieve to date?
Yeah, so far we've had over 8-foot face waves at the peak, which is pretty solid. And on the island break particularly, you'll see the pictures there and the videos online with Ben Player and Dean Morrison getting serious barrels. There's a great shot of Kobe Perkovic on the left there. So these are real waves. They're not.
I actually thought the best photo was of the broken surfboard. I thought that was a real milestone for you guys, the ability to help guys break their surfboards.
Yeah, well, that's it. Well, Ruben likes that, because when in the early investor conversations, he's saying we're going to make serious waves that'll break boards, and we've busted more than 3 so far. So again, that's not the name of the game, but
of course.
At that extreme end, it's good to know that there's some real power there for surfers. But the main part of the business, of course, is the learn to surf and the easy rolling intermediate breaks, which won't break anything or anyone. So they're the ones that we're focusing on as the key part. But certainly from a PR perspective and media for surfers, when you get big overhead barrels, that's a wow factor that nobody else can produce.
And I think that was the thing that really appealed to me about what you guys are doing. This is not just about the hardcore surfers. And I've seen this before with companies like sort of indoor skydiving, where effectively you're able to attract, the sort of the newbies, the beginners, the people that sort of want to learn, the people that, let's say like me, that can't sit out in the sun for that long but still want to, get in the water. But now that's obviously the fun part, there's the surfing part. Now, to understand the business part, how do you see the revenue potential, and what are the sort of revenue streams that you're going for with the business?
Yeah, I think the baseline for us is the licensing model, where there's a fee for the territory. So people get exclusivity for that, which can range between $250 US to over $1 million US for the territory. Yeah. Then there's a margin on the project and the machine itself. And then there's ongoing royalties and service fees, which is a big deal, because we'll be monitoring the machine for the life of it. So we've got this annual income style. Some of it will be royalty, some of it is more of an annuity style service fee. But the point is, if you have 100 projects out there generating more than $1 million in royalties and service fees each year, that's a pretty good baseline income for us. And that's before we get involved in other service fees, before we operate any of the parks on behalf of the licensees, before any property development, etc. So we believe
Any
it's a very good,
retail or
solid base business model, which underpins, the valuation and allows us confidence to roll it out rapidly into licensee sites.
one of the things I saw that was really interesting, I was watching your sort of shareholder update, and you showed a beautiful image of what surf lakes could look like inside a city. And,
Yeah.
Obviously with Yeppoon, you needed a big area. Now, obviously you're targeting sort of smaller areas as well. Give us a bit of information about that, because I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah, it's partly out of feedback from the licensees. We've had many, many inquiries, of course, but some of them didn't have enough land, or they just didn't want one that big, or they're in a market where there's no surfing, market really, apart
Yeah.
from any visitors. And so for them, the idea of having overhead heaving barrels, it's too early for that. That's 5-10 years down the track. And so to build a smaller facility that catered for learn to surf and intermediates and still gave a couple of hollow waves is more appropriate. It certainly means the cost is 2/3 of what they're after, or what the big one is, sorry. The cost is 2/3 of the big one. It just made sense. And for a lot of people, that they're excited by that. They really want to move quickly on those type of opportunities. So it's really important, because it pitches us exactly where the other technology is in terms of size and cost, but we've still got more than double the productivity and the variety.
Yeah. And from as founder, I'm sure you're like me, you think about the business sort of 24/7, and you're sort of thinking about, okay, how do I envision sort of Surf Lake sort of 3 to 5 years from now? If you were to provide a helicopter view of your sort of strategy, what does the next sort of 3 to 5 years look like for you?
Yeah, so
And for Surf Lakes?
our first goal is of course to get a first commercial site up and running and proven. So we've proven the technology. Now we're in the scale up phase with many licenses being, we've sold 2 full licenses. There's another one being signed up this week, and there's 170 projects listed, and then there's another 500 inquiries backing up behind that. So
It's actually
there's a real
astonishing how many inquiries you get. It's the thing that's always surprised me about how just off your website, how many people just inquire. Like, you do no outbound business development.
No, that's it. And it's a good point, because we're only now appointing a sales team to do some outbound sales. So before we started doing any of that, we've got this enormous pipeline growing. So we want to get that first one, and then it's about the first 5. So you do one, that's great, but then it's about the global capacity to deliver in the US, the UK, across Asia, and setting up those manufacturing bases for the facility and the teams as well in those regions. So we've divided the world into 5 regions. So in 5 years' time, we can see commercial parks in each of those 5 regions, and then multiplying that capacity so we can see one in every major city in those 5 regions. So there's quite a big vision, but it's actually being validated by the support and the inquiries out of the market, and the investor inquiries are coming as well. So for us, it's really about execution now. How do we develop the team and the business that will execute flawlessly? Flawlessly is probably a big execute very well.
Yeah. So look, I want to touch on 2 things. One, about team, but I'll get onto that in a second. The second one is the other thing that I find really interesting is just how much media attention you receive with little effort. I was watching I got shared a video on, I think it was like Yahoo Australia, and someone just put up some image of some recent photos of surf lakes, and the video had 7 million views. It's hard to beat that sort of virality of a product. Like, there's very few products that have that sort of capacity.
That's it. And I mean, it's just a compelling viewing. And when we first launched the waves, people thought it was a fake video. They just saw this plunger moving up and down. They thought it was Photoshop. They couldn't get their heads around the scale of it, etc. So no, it really is compelling and exciting, and it does that for us, which is great. But as we start to announce these commercial projects, that will launch us into those local markets in an even more tangible way, because people will have somewhere where they can go. It's not just a concept in the internet, but hey, wow, I can start to buy tickets. That's when it will take off in an even bigger way. So that content and the ability to generate content from each of those sites is a whole other business opportunity for us that would we're aware of it, but we'll only start to realise that when we generate the commercial sites and see, the thousands of people that will come through and take their own photo or buy videos and photos off the operators, etc. So
Most
it's only just
important, people taking photos of themselves surfing for their own social media. You've got to feed into that for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. So there's a whole strategy around that as well. So we're excited by what it can do. It's just such a visual feast.
Yeah, of course. And just so going back to the team part, like I noted that recently you brought on John Diddams, and I actually interviewed John Diddams for one of the showcases that we were doing. And John's obviously had a lot of experience in taking companies through the IPO process. In fact, it's been about sort of 20 over the last 10 years. So for you as CEO, for what you're talking about, your aggressive strategies require capital, of course. So can you talk to some of the sort of ambitions over the next sort of, over the next few years around the capital strategy, and also the appointment of John, and what that sort of signals?
Yeah, so I think with John, there's two things. You get a director who's incredibly experienced and got a real eye for detail with his accounting background. So it's a two-edged sword for a CEO. He makes my life difficult, but in a good way. That's what you need to sharpen up the company and build up our capacity into bigger capital raises and potentially into that IPO space. So that's the reason we put John on, because he's got such a wealth of experience there. So we've really enjoyed having him on the team, because he does drive us, which is terrific. But he brings a network.
And also networks as well. That's what I also think is fantastic about someone like John. Like, you've got a guy, when someone's done that many IPOs, they build a team around them of people that they've got a strong like, trust and respect relationship with. Which is one of the hardest. People don't sort of appreciate that some of the issues that founders have is sometimes just deciding professionals to work with to go through these processes. So when people have got that sort of been there, done that experience, everything, it's, like, how do I say it? They know how to get things in the sort of shape, which makes a smoother process for when it comes time to either IPO or, whether it be larger strategic investors that may want to come on board or whatever it may be. Right. Yeah. But the building of the value of the company is most important.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's certainly given us more confidence at the board level, but it gives investors a lot more confidence that someone with his governance experience is there. So whether John is the guy that drives the cap raise or not, having him there is of great strategic importance to us. So we're really pleased with that. It's a shame he's in Sydney and hasn't been able to travel to Queensland as much. He's missed out on some waves, but that's okay. We'll get him up there.
And just as a sort of final couple quick questions, as far as you're talking before, obviously there's a strong pipeline, and you've got another license that you're looking to sign up this week. What other sort of things are happening in that area that sort of, I suppose, signal how you're sort of, how can I say it, progressing the growth strategy?
Yeah, so for us, the baseline of the business is the licensee sales and delivering projects to licensees and generating margin plus the ongoing revenue. This market is exploding globally, and so by definition we're forced into the fact that we have to be a global business immediately, and we have to address these markets to get our place there. In addition to that, though, there will be an opportunity to take a position in some of those projects, and so we're having discussions with groups that can help raise capital for that as well, because there's some really exciting locations around the world where this will be a gold mine for those licensees, and so we don't want to give it all away. We'd like to keep some of that and work strategically with them, but that's only a handful. The rest of them will be licensee, technology delivery, license income, and then where appropriate, we may consider operating for that, because we do have a number of inquiries from developers who want the amenity, they want the asset, they want the boost that it'll give for their entire community that they're building, but they don't operate it. And so we can work with operators or, over time become that operator as well. So again, we're not rushing into that, but because we bring the experience and it'll be ever increasing knowledge in that space, there is an opportunity to consider that there's a whole other income stream. Without taking capital risk, we can actually operate these parks at a serious profit.
Fantastic. And look, for me, like when I listen to you talking, I can understand one of the challenges for you as founder is obviously you get put a lot of opportunities put in front of you, but the other part is it's fantastic. You got a great team around you. It's actually helping you execute.
Yeah.
So to be able to do what you've been able to do, and really it's quite a short time period for the size of the project and for the amount of inquiries. I think it's really sort of hats off to you and the team.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. As you've said, it's a massive team effort. So I'm incredibly grateful to all of the guys, and we're adding to the team now with the capacity to deliver these projects well. We've partnered with groups like APP to give us, a jump start into that project delivery capacity. We're doing the same in engineering. We'll be appointing some engineering leaders. So my role now is about, again, it's recruiting hat on, find the right people so we can deliver these projects to the world as quickly as we can and catch up to the competition in terms of their project announcements. But thankfully, there's a lot of, the inquiries have looked at all the others. They want us and only us. And so that's good. We know that there's, our share of the market is out there as long as we execute well from here on. So it's a fun time.
Fantastic. And look, obviously we're providing, from a wholesale investor and a Chris perspective, we're helping facilitate some secondary sales for some investors. So look, from our side, we want to work with, the potential people that you've got. We think it's an incredible project. We know that you've had such good interest, and for us, we just want to, said any questions that people have about that. Obviously, we've got information available on the Chris website and also on the WI website. So feel free to go and check that out. Aaron, thanks so much for your time today. And I must say, it just wouldn't have been on point if you were sitting in an office doing this interview. It's just nice you're outside, on brand, mate.
On the move. Thanks, mate. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Aaron. Speak
See
soon.
ya. Bye.